The bill HB 180 this year seeks to provide some remedy and transparency in the application fee process. Now, for me, there's two things that people need in order to be successful in life. Those include a job and those include housing. And we know that everyone makes mistakes, but everyone deserves a place that they can call home. Housing is critical to the successful reintegration of men and women once they come home from prison. And out of desperation for this basic human need, these men and women go to apartment complex after apartment complex and submit applications and pay these application fees time and time again. It's not only a financial burden to them, it's also a very time-consuming process. So I'm here today to make an argument that these men and women at least deserve some type of insight as to why their application will be denied. It will come as no surprise to all of you that Louisiana has a huge adult population living with a criminal record. So I think providing some insight as to why a housing application will be denied will be a great step forward. It's nearly impossible to hold down a job without secure housing. And while HB 180 will not guarantee that these formerly incarcerated men and women can obtain housing, what it will do is provide critical transparency, guidance, and other protections to both landlords and renters in the state of Louisiana.
One thing I have to say is I understand that we've been incarcerated, we've done time, we've committed a crime or whatever, but you have to look at the individual. The evidence of a changed heart is changed behavior. And you have to look at the individual. You have to know for a fact that this person has changed. If a man has spent years in prison and he's coming to you with his money, with the first month's rent, with the deposit, wanting a place to stay, needing a roof over his head, why wouldn't it be given to him? He has a job. He pays taxes like everyone else. He's living here in America just like everyone else, paying everything just like everyone else. But the moment he wants a place to stay, he's denied simply because he was convicted of a crime 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. We always say that everybody deserves a second chance. Well, being someone who was formerly incarcerated, where is our second chance?
It just makes sense to me when a person has served their time, they've paid their debt to society, and they don't need to be stressed further by constantly having to pay application fees. If they know in advance that they're going to be rejected, then they can save that money and go to another source. But I am also here because I'm a constituent of Representative Paula Davis, so I appreciate y'all's respect and the opportunity to speak.
I get kind of passionate about this thing because I was affected so harshly by it. My experience was vastly different from Edward's. I came home with the grand idea: the house, the wife, the dog, even a goldfish. This was something I imagined sitting on my bunk when I get home. This the life that I would have. Didn't happen that way. Have you ever been convicted of a felony? Has never done me so much mental and spiritual stress. I mean, it's and I had financial means. I paid my taxes. But every time I went to fill out that application, have you ever been convicted of a felony? That, I'm gonna watch my language. That, man, it ticked me off. Man, I wish I could give y'all this so y'all could feel what I feel. I wish y'all could just test the waters for 1 week. I don't just for 1 week, just feel what I feel, how I felt. And I had the money, I had the means to do Yeah. I'm gonna be quiet now because my emotions are getting riled up, and I want to be respectful to you all. But I would listen. Can y'all support this? Can y'all give us just a little bit of I'm gonna say comfort.
What we hear from survivors is we need financial assistance to help us heal. We need safe housing. We need support resources. This bill would help survivors who have been criminalized and are looking for safe housing without wasting a lot of their time and very, very precious money. Wrongful arrests happen all the time. The criminal legal system gets it wrong. We've had domestic violence victims who are in the hospital getting a forensic medical exam for the strangulation they just experienced that nearly killed them while they're in handcuffed to the bed because the police decided that they were the aggressor. We have human trafficking survivors who have been charged with and convicted of sex crimes because they were forced into crimes by their traffickers and their abusers. And those are the survivors who are also unable to get safe housing the same way that Mr. Earl is experiencing, the same way that you're hearing from other folks. Survivors who are in this situation will continue to suffer without this bill. And it is a really great example of the creative solutions for public safety that we are told to come up with outside the legal system. So we strongly urge you to support this bill and to please keep in mind public safety and victims of violence when you're casting your vote.
First of all, you have to have somewhere to stay if you're on parole. First of all. And then, like Earl and myself and others, that application fee goes into your pocket. I was about to talk about my granddad and say, it pinch your money, Mm-hmm. But every time one of us go, it's the $40, and by the time you get out the door, the gate to click, the application is denied. So sometimes I'm thinking that some of these landlords, from the stories I've been hearing and everything, and what I went through years ago, is that's just another form of making money. So this committee right here has the opportunity to make sure that when people come home and that the full transparency is there when we fill out an application. And I'm like Earl, you get emotional about this because people tell you, they want you to do better, but you put so many roadblocks. I was listening earlier when one of the representatives wasn't talking about the housing. He tried to go into passing all of these laws that they're getting ready to pass and change the JRI and what's been going on. It is not the old guys and stuff like that. And we cannot legislate our way out, but we can do something today about housing for people like myself that come out and just want a fair shot. Thank you.
First, I just want to say that I've been coming up to this space for about a decade now, and the first time I came up here was with a gentleman named Kenneth Biggie Johnston, and he was fighting for his voting rights. Someone who spent time in Vietnam, time in prison, 20 years outside of prison, and he still had never gotten a chance to vote. And it took about 5 years working on that bill before he got a chance to vote. Well, this morning he passed, and I just wanted to give a shout out to Biggie in the legislature, a place where he fought so hard to make change. And he respected everybody as much as he got emotional like the rest of us about a lot of these issues. It was always done with respect. But what we're talking about here today, I think, personally, is actually about artificial intelligence. We're talking about algorithms. We're talking about systems of discrimination that make it easier to run one's business. And this is a pattern that you're going to be dealing with in commerce, I think, for a long time. And who is in control of the system? Who's in control of the algorithm? What are they using for the system? What are they discriminating based on? Are they replicating a problem because they have bad data? Is the person who's using the system even aware of what the system does? And I think you're going to hear maybe from some realtors that, oh, this is too complicated, or proprietary information, background check companies, all this kind of stuff. Well, guess what? This is just going to get worse across the board when computers and algorithms are running all of things and deciding who can do what and where. The last time I applied for an apartment and got denied, it was I had a law degree already that I'd earned after I'd been in prison. My last conviction was 30 years ago. I'm a single father with a 14-year-old daughter, and she faces discrimination that I face. So if I apply for an apartment again, I'm going to face discrimination. And I know, because I've been doing this for 18 years now, I know that there's certain things I just don't bother to do, because I already know going in that they're going to have a limitation on, let's say, violent crimes, which I was convicted of. And so I'm just like, I'm not going to waste my time or my money when I know no blank need apply, right? And this is all this is asking people to do. Now, the landlord people, we hear from them, we just heard from them, they want to do whatever they want to do. They don't want any regulation. This is a commerce committee. It's about regulating. If there was no regulation, there would be no commerce committee. There's a commerce clause for that reason. And so we're all here to talk about artificial intelligence and background checks, and something that is considered to be neutral but has an unfair outcome. It's considered to have disparate impact, right? And so, we're not using, let's say, race. We're using criminal convictions, and criminal convictions are neutral. Well, they're not neutral. The non-unanimous jury system was created explicitly to discriminate against black people in Louisiana. There's still almost 1,500 people in prison under non-unanimous jury convictions. There's a hearing in a couple days about that issue. So we can't say that the system is neutral and that the impacts are neutral as well. And if you keep doing something that you think is neutral but has a disparate impact, and you're aware that it has a disparate impact, well, that becomes discriminatory intent, because now you know what it's doing, you keep doing it. And so people are worried about excessive litigation. Well, they should be worried about excessive litigation, but it's not just about this bill. It's got nothing to do with this bill. If we're going to have landlords, corporate landlords who live outside of town, who own all the property, and we're here every day talking about public safety, we're talking about all these issues and education and housing and all these things, and someone who lives, some shareholder that lives, I don't know, Italy, is going to say, don't sue me, and they're going to pay a lot of money to a lobbyist to tell you what to do. Well, that's not helping us as Louisiana any. That's not helping our neighborhoods. That's not helping the woman who sat here just earlier and talked about her grandson. We need to take control of our neighborhoods. These people want to own everything. Well, they got to take care of it too. And they got to treat us all fairly. And so the thing is, when we're talking about criminal histories here, which criminal histories are we talking about? As Earl was saying, we're talking about people who have money in hand, who have a job, who are trying to rent an apartment. We're not talking about people sitting up in Angola. We're talking about people who have been deemed by the judge or the parole board to be cool enough, okay enough, fine enough to be looking for an apartment. And then people in this body, maybe, I don't know how many, it might be one of y'all, but people in this body have been putting up impediments and leaving impediments in place, making it impossible to assimilate, impossible to rehabilitate, impossible for reentry. And you know what? Most people that are impacted by this stuff are people who got probation, people who are given an alternative to confinement. And someone might say, well, we only look back 3 years. And you're like, well, I just got probation 3 months ago. You know, and you're going to deny everybody with a felony conviction? The judge said, go, you know, keep your nose clean. The judge didn't say I couldn't rent anything anywhere. So people need to know up front, it's just deceptive trade practices to take somebody's money and not tell them what the thing is. Even the lottery tells you your odds of being a winner. The apartment people don't tell you your odds of actually getting the apartment. Thank you.
So this bill does not tell a housing provider what they can deny for. It doesn't force their hand in any way. All this bill would do is tell them, before you take an application fee, you let the applicant know some type of idea of why they would be denied. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's what it sounded and read like to me. It's
And
sort
ironic.
of akin to when I go shopping at a certain spot and the item's on clearance and they tell me, if you buy this, you cannot return it, then that informs my decision of whether or not I want to purchase.
That's a good analogy. And I think it's ironic that that is the provision that's causing the opposition to this bill. It's transparency. Before I pay my application fee, give me an idea of why I will be denied. If you don't want to provide that information, I have to assume that it's because you want to keep collecting these application fees and using that as a source of revenue.
To what you just stated, they're using it as a revenue source. Once they charge this fee, it was 40, I think you said?
It ranges. It could be, I think some places don't even have a fee, but it could be from $25 up to $100 per application.
If the fee, let's say it was 40, because it was mentioned earlier.
Sure.
If it's a $40 fee, can't they reuse that same application instead of keep paying every time you move?
No. Every time you go to a place to get an apartment or any type of housing, there's a new application fee every time.
Is there a time delay from being released to the time you attempt to get housing?
So if you say anything within 5 years, 10 years, 20 years is going to lead to a denial, that's good information for the applicant to know. Right now, they have no insight, none whatsoever. So you could have a felony conviction from 50 years ago, and you go apply for an apartment and you get denied because of that crime from 50 years ago. And I think if you had some type of insight, you may question whether you want to spend this money on this application or not.
I stopped paying rental fees 2 years ago. I realized it was a scandal the second time I paid it, and I haven't paid one since. You know what I've been doing with my rental fees? Saving my money to buy my house, and I ain't got to deal with that crap. I listened to the guy come up here from the Lawyers Association, the Apartments Association, a lawyer. And I remember last year, something very disingenuous happened last year. We was in a chamber discussing amendments to the same bill. And the same attorney offered up these amendments. We get in committee, and he objected to those amendments on Rep. Willard's bill last year. And this year, just a minute ago, he talked about how the victim who lost their family in his neighborhood, and how the premature terminations, if that happened, how they would force these people to suffer credit impacts for 2 years because they live in a crime zone area that's unsafe. But yet here we are, formerly incarcerated men and women with jobs, building jobs 10 years, like my friend Keon Calloway, like Bruce Riley, 18 years, the deputy director of Vote, and he couldn't even get a house in a neighborhood that's comfortable for him and his family. I'm trying to see, is something wrong with that picture? You can trap our people into crime-infested communities that are unsafe and pack their credit score, but yet formerly incarcerated people who are out here doing work to make the community safe, you don't want them to live in a community. I have nothing else to say.
Not wishing to speak, but in opposition, Tammy Esponge, the Apartment Association of Louisiana, Michael Kraft, Anthony Baratini, Apartment Association of New Orleans, Marissa Wright, Hampton Court Apartments, Timberland Plattenberg, Baton Rouge Apartment Association, Purnell Sample, Heather Arsenault with Love's Management, and Purnell Sample was with the same company. Nicholas Leva with Love's Management, Roger Price, Love's Management, Kenneth Douglas, Love's Management, Mackenzie Sanders, A.C. Lewis, Haley Anselmo, Tammy Hotard with Love's Management, Joe Duran, Love's Management, Christian Anselmo, Love's Management, Nancy Men, Love's Management, David Williams, Love's Management, Jim Rather, Apartment Association of Louisiana, Michael Kraft again, Angel Apartments. Oh, we're getting some repeats here. Daniel Causey, Baton Rouge Apartment Association. Jennifer Ansardi, Apartment Association of Louisiana. Sandra Crump, Baton Rouge Apartment Association. Bill Lankop, Louisiana Affordable Housing Management Association. Susan Partnich, Loves Management. Taylor Collins, Loves Management. Debbie Landry, Brent. Tracy Harris, Loves Management. Sarah Myers, Loves Management. Randall Womack, Louisiana Realtors. And I have some cards in opposition who do wish to speak. Jim Rather, Apartment Association, and Susan Rose. Are you present? Okay, I don't see them.
Members, I really have spent a lot of time on this issue, and it's hard to put into words how disappointed I am. You heard from my friend Earl, who's truly my friend. I was actually the best man at his wedding, and I just think I really think it's a bit odd that we can't let people know why they will be automatically denied from housing opportunities before they pay an application fee. It sounds like a racket. I mean, it sounds like a racket. Keep coming, keep applying. You might get it next time, but pay that fee. All I'm trying to do is provide that transparency. Let me know why I will be denied. Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion from Representative Newell to move favorably on House Bill 180 with amendments. Is there any objection? Seeing objection. What? I'm sorry, I did object. Yes, I see.
Madam Acting Chair,
Yes.
I want to thank you and everybody on the committee for allowing me the time to present this important piece of legislation. And I sincerely want to thank all of you for listening to those who came down to the Capitol to testify in support of HB 180. When this bill last year died in a Senate committee, I made a commitment to the committee members and to everybody who showed up in support and opposition to the bill that I would bring it back this year. And I'm making that commitment again. I'll be back next year, if God willing, I make it back to the legislature with this bill. And so at this time, I would ask to voluntarily defer HB 180.
Representative Willard, I am not going to go against your wishes for me to pull back my motion, although I really, really, really want to. We are often put in uncomfortable positions and made to vote on things that are very uncomfortable to us. This should not have been an issue that makes anyone uncomfortable. We sit in these seats daily and say how much we want to move the state forward, how much we are trying to protect the citizens that we represent, but yet and still we cannot vote on an issue that would protect people who we want to see move forward and have a better life and make a better life for their families and show that they have paid their debt to society and are welcome back into society. I am so upset right now. But
I share your sentiment.
But following your wishes, I am going to pull my amendment, but I already told you how I felt about it.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Rep.
And I do apologize.
Is there any objection to voluntarily deferring House Bill 180? Hearing or seeing none, it is deferred.